Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into something that might seem, well, a bit everyday maybe.
Definitely seems ordinary on the surface.
Right. But honestly, it's this amazing window into global economics, demographics, even how lifestyles are changing.
Yeah.
We are talking about the global tissue market.
Yeah. Facial tissues, paper towels, toilet paper, the whole lot.
Exactly. And our source for this deep dive is the pretty comprehensive Global Tissue Market Outlook 2021-2033 report. It's packed with numbers, trends.
Lots of data in there.
Just sure. So our mission today is basically to cut through all that data, show you the maybe surprising dynamics, and really understand what's driving demand for this, essential item. You're going to get a properly informed view on something you probably use every single day.
Maybe don't think twice about.
Precisely. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, what's fascinating here is because it's such an everyday product, tissue is so sort of fundamental to modern hygiene and convenience, right? So its market performance, it isn't just about pulp and paper prices. It's actually a surprisingly clear measure, a barometer almost, for broader economic health.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, and population shifts, how fast consumer habits are changing in different places. It reflects disposable income, public health standards, urbanization, all that stuff. So yeah, much more significant than just a roll of paper, I might suggest.
Absolutely. And okay, if we zoom out, look at the global picture. The whole market is showing this really consistent, steady expansion.
It is.
So total worldwide tissue sales, they were over $20.9 billion back in 2021.
A huge number already.
Right. And projections show it climbing past $23.8 billion by 2025, and then all the way up to over $30.9 billion by 2033.
Wow.
That works out to a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 3.3% globally. I mean, growing about 3.3% each year on average.
Pretty solid.
It makes you ask, doesn't it? What does this kind of steady growth tell us about a product we often take for granted?
Well, that consistent global growth, it really speaks volumes. It's just a market driven by, fundamental human needs.
Basic needs, yeah.
Exactly. It suggests we're not just looking at population growth, though that's part of it, of course, but also increasing adoption of modern hygiene practices and rising living standards in many developing parts of the world.
Right, right.
Unlike, say, luxury goods, tissue demand stays pretty strong even when the economy shifts. It just shows how essential it is. It's a foundational product, really, expanding as societies modernize and, prioritize health and convenience.
That's a great point. It's like a baseline necessity. Okay, so let's drill down a bit. Starting here in North America.
Okay.
This region holds a really substantial chunk of the global market. Back in 2021, revenue was over $6.6 billion.
Big share.
Huge. Projected to grow to over $9.4 billion by 2033. That's a regional CAGR of just over 3%.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Ah.
When you break it down by country, because the growth rates tell, well, very different stories. The U.S., as you'd probably guess, leads in sheer size.
Naturally.
Yeah, $4.6 billion in 2021, heading to $6.4 billion by 2033. But its growth rate is, let's say, more mature, 2.87% CAGR.
Okay, steady.
But then look at Canada, surprisingly stronger growth. Its CAGR is over 4%, 4.075% to be exact.
Oh, interesting. Higher than the U.S.
Right. And then Mexico, bit more modest. Its market's expanding at a more reserved pace, like 1.23% annually.
Quite the range within one region.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, these varied growth rates in North America, they really show this fascinating mix of economic maturity and changing consumer behavior, don't they?
They really do.
Canada's stronger growth, for instance. It could be influenced by a few things, not just population, maybe faster adoption of premium tissue products.
Could be.
Or maybe higher consumption per person driven by smaller households, or even just really clever marketing by the manufacturers,
Yeah, pushing those plusher brands.
Exactly. And then Mexico's more modest growth, well, that might indicate a market that's still perhaps primarily focused on the basics, where brand loyalty or product diversification hasn't quite hit the same level as its northern neighbors yet.
Makes sense.
So it's like a snapshot, isn't it? Distinct economic and social landscapes right next to each other, each affecting how fast everyday stuff gets adopted and used.
That's a really sharp point about market penetration and, product types, not just the raw population numbers. Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic. Europe.
Right.
Now, this region actually has a slightly higher overall CAGR than North America. It's expanding at just over 3.1% a year.
Okay, a little faster overall.
Yep. European tissue market revenue was about $5.1 billion in 2021, heading towards over $7.4 billion by 2033. Now, Germany is the biggest market there.
As you might expect, yeah.
Over $1.2 billion in 2021, growing at a decent 3.4%. And the UK shows pretty strong growth, too, nearly 4% CAGR. France, Italy, Russia, they're showing more moderate growth, sort of in the 2–3% range.
Standard stuff for developed economies, mostly.
Kind of. But then you see some real contrasts.
Yeah.
Countries like Spain, Sweden, Denmark, they're much slower, like
Yeah.
1% to maybe 1.8% CAGR.
Okay, lagging behind a bit.
Yeah. And then you hit Luxembourg. The growth there is, well, almost negligible. Less than 0.5% CAGR, 0.489%,
Wow, basically flat.
practically.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. The category labeled Rest of Europe. It is experiencing this surprising surge, an incredible CAGR over 10%, 10.353%.
Over 10%.
I know. Their revenue is projected to more than double, going from like $123 million to nearly $320 million.
Okay, that's dramatic. So this raises an important question. What's going on there?
Right.
Luxembourg's minimal growth, I mean, that strongly suggests a really saturated, mature market, doesn't it?
Has to be.
In a small, developed place like that, maybe with a stable or even slightly falling population,
Yeah.
there's just very little room for more growth. People have their habits, the market's peaked.
Makes total sense. But the rest of Europe?
Well, that explosive surge in the rest of Europe category is really intriguing. It's not one country, remember, it's a collection.
True.
So that could easily include emerging markets, maybe in Eastern Europe, or regions within the EU, perhaps, that are seeing rapid economic development, more people moving to cities.
Wow.
Or just a big shift in consumer habits towards modern hygiene stuff. It really pushes us to look beyond the big players, you know? Think about the smaller, dynamic parts of the continent where how people consume is still changing quite fast.
What a contrast indeed. From near zero to double digits. Okay, next stop. Asia Pacific, often called the global growth engine.
And for good reason in many sectors.
Definitely seems true here. This region is showing really significant expansion, a robust KOR of over 3.7%.
Strong.
Regional revenue was around $3.6 billion in 2021, projected to swell past $5.6 billion by 2033. China, no surprise, leads in volume, growing at nearly 3.8%.
Big market. Solid growth.
Japan, also solid, 2.75% TADR. But then we've got India, truly robust expansion there, a strong 4.45% CAGR.
India's growth is often impressive across consumer goods.
It is. South Korea, Australia, Singapore, all healthy growth, in that 3% to 3.5% range. Southeast Asia as a whole also surging with over 4% CAGR.
So broad-based growth across the region.
Pretty much. But the real standout, the one that jumps off the page, is Taiwan. It shows the strongest TAGR within Asia Pacific. An astounding 5.55%.
Over 5.5%. Wow, okay.
Right, growing from $115 million to over $215 million.
Yeah, these rapid growth rates in places like India and Taiwan, they definitely link to broader economic trends, but there's often a specific tissue market twist.
Wow.
In India, for example, it's not just rising incomes, which is happening, but you also see really aggressive marketing by local companies.
Local players.
Yeah, making branded tissue products way more accessible, especially outside the big cities, in rural areas, tier 2 towns. They're actively, educating consumers, trying to shift them away from traditional alternative.
So direct market creation.
Exactly. It's a mix of economic uplift and really targeted market penetration, often focusing on affordability, maybe smaller pack sizes, convenience.
Makes sense. And Taiwan.
Well, Taiwan's strong growth, that could reflect its position in the global supply chain, maybe. Innovative products, perhaps. Or just higher per-person usage because of high living standards and a focus on wellness.
Could be a few things said.
Yeah, it shows how local market dynamics and smart strategies can really turbocharge growth, even beyond general economic expansion.
That's fascinating. Local strategies really do make a difference. Okay, let's head south now, South America.
Right.
This region shows more moderate overall growth. Regional revenue was about $2.6 billion in 2021, expected to hit over $3.6 billion by 2033. That gives it a KGR of 2.71%.
Okay, steady but not spectacular.
Pretty much. Brazil leads the pack, growing at almost 2.9%. Argentina's right behind, just over 3%. And Colombia actually shows the strongest growth in the region, over 3.2%.
Colombia's doing well then.
Seems so. Peru and Chile are a bit slower, both in the low 2% range, around 2.2, 2.3%. And the rest of South America category is even slower, just 1.4% CAGR. Quite varied there, too.
Yeah, the South American numbers, they really highlight the impact of regional disparities and, crucially, economic stability or instability.
Ah, the economy factor.
For sure. While some countries like Colombia are showing stronger growth, maybe due to internal development, a growing middle class, maybe more stable politics recently.
Right.
Others might be dealing with challenges, economic volatility, high inflation, infrastructure issues that make it harder to distribute products widely and hit consumer demand.
So macroeconomics really hitting hard there.
It's a region where those big economic conditions can have a very direct, very noticeable effect on consumer markets like tissue. It impacts both what people can afford and how efficiently companies can get products onto shelves.
Got it. Okay, moving across the globe again, the Middle East,
Okay.
showing some really robust expansion here. The region's revenue was around $1.6 billion in 2021, set to hit over $2.5 billion by 2033. That's a high regional CGR of almost 4%, 3.947%.
Nearly 4%. That's strong.
Very strong. Breaking it down, Saudi Arabia is a top performer.
Yeah.
Strong 4.5% CGR. Turkey's at nearly 3.7%. The UAE, also very impressive, almost 4.4% CAGR. Egypt's close behind at 3.77%, and Qatar is strong too, over 4%.
So several countries pulling that average up.
Definitely. But then, similar to South America, the rest of Middle East category shows very limited growth, just 0.57% CAGR.
Another big contrast within the region.
Yep.
Look, the accelerated growth in those key Middle Eastern markets, Saudi, UAE, Qatar, you can link that to several dynamic factors, again, beyond just population.
Like what?
Well, these economies are often fueled by massive infrastructure development, right? Think huge construction projects, new cities being built.
Lots of building going on.
Absolutely. Plus a booming tourism sector and a large, often growing expatriate population.
With expats, yeah.
All of these things contribute to higher consumer spending and just more need for hygiene products, not just in homes, but critically in commercial spaces, hotels, airports, offices.
Everywhere, basically.
Pretty much. And there's also generally a growing awareness around health and hygiene standards, which pushes consumption up too. It's really a region seeing rapid modernization and a lot of economic activity on multiple fronts.
It certainly sounds like a hub of activity.
Okay.
Hey, last stop on our world tour, Africa.
Right?
And Africa actually boasts the highest regional KGR globally.
The highest. Okay.
Yes. In 2021, the African tissue market was around $1.25 billion. It's estimated to soar to almost $2.2 billion by 2033. That reflects a significant KGR of over 4.3%, 4.328%.
That is significant growth.
It really is. Within Africa, Nigeria accounts for a sizable chunk, growing at over 4%. But the true standout here is South Africa.
Oh, yeah.
It demonstrates the strongest CGR in all of Africa, a remarkable 5.67%.
5.67, that's huge for tissue.
Isn't it? Go from $566 million to over $1 billion by 2033. The rest of Africa, though, is more modest again, about 1.4% CGR.
So South Africa is really pulling the average there.
Definitely.
Yeah, the why behind Africa's strong overall growth is compelling. And again, it's more than just demographics, so that's huge.
The population boom.
Yeah, a rapidly expanding, very youthful population, but also increasing urbanization is key. And just expanding access to consumer goods as formal retail, like supermarkets, develops.
Right, moving away from informal markets.
Exactly. As more people move to cities, get access to modern housing with proper sanitation, shop in formal stores, the demand for convenient, hygienic products like tissue just grows exponentially.
Makes perfect sense. And South Africa's lead.
Well, South Africa's leading KGR probably reflects its relatively more developed economy within the continent. It acts as a regional economic hub. It has a more established consumer market that's now ready for, greater product diversification, maybe more premium options.
So it's further along the curve.
Sort of, yeah. It acts like a bellwether, really, for that broader continental trend of increasing consumption and changing consumer preferences.
Wow. Okay, this has been quite the tour, hasn't it? A market we use daily, but yeah, rarely think about its global economic footprint.
It covers a lot of ground.
It really does. We've seen this clear global pattern. High expansion in dynamic developing regions like Asia Pacific and Africa, driven by population, cities growing, smart market strategies. And then, in contrast, parts of Europe and South America showing slower, more mature growth. Saturated markets or maybe economic headwinds playing a bigger role. So what does this all mean when you bring it together?
Well, yeah, what stands out to you from looking at all these different regional snapshots? Because ultimately, These numbers, even though they're about tissue, they tell a much bigger story, don't they?
They really seem to.
They reflect these broad narratives of economic development, how demographics are shifting, how consumer markets are evolving all across the globe. The growth rates, or sometimes the lack of growth, they're not just about tissue paper itself. They indicate everything from disposable income levels to infrastructure quality, cultural shifts, even public health
So
priorities.
much is packed in there.
Exactly. Like that high growth in Africa, it isn't just more people buying tissue. It's about a fundamental shift in daily life for many, gaining access to basic comforts and conveniences. It really encourages us, I think, to consider how these patterns might play out or be different in other everyday consumer goods markets. They reveal this underlying pulse of global change.
It truly does make you rethink what a simple product can tell us about the world. Thank you. This has been incredibly insightful, diving so deep into the global tissue market with us today. Really eye-opening.
You're welcome. And it just goes to show, despite being such a humble product, the tissue market really does provide this surprisingly accurate barometer of economic health and consumer behavior.
It really does.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday items might hold similar hidden insights into global trends if you just looked closely enough? So keep seeking those aha moments, maybe in the most unexpected places.